two names of Shin Daled Yud. That's the level of the lower level is Shamarti Leilomidai. That's the Hagbolah of Hashem in the world. That's the Kalim. Then you have the that's Mislabish in the Kalim. That Shadai Balakusi Lachal Beria. And then there is a greater level, Shem Yudke Vavke, and we said that the Nisim that are enclosed in Teva, that comes from the middle level, the Dai Balakusi Lachal Beria, Nisim that are beyond Teva, that's the level of Shem Yudke Vavke, as we explained. And then we wanted to understand, but why is it specifically that concerning Yudke Vavke does it say Shenizgal b'midas amitius shali, that I became revealed in the midah of my truth? How come when we're dealing with even the that's mislabish in the kalim, which is the second level, it's not considered the level of midas amitius? And to be able to understand that, we went into the machloikis between the Rambam and the Ramban, that there is what type of way was the hislapshus of Elikus in the Beis Hamikdash. Wasn't in a way that the Elikus was actually enclosed in the Beis Hamikdash in a way of bepnimius, or is it in a way of derech maivir, of passing through? According to the Rambam and other Rishonim, it's passing through. It's bederech maivir. Just the place of the Beis Hamikdash is a place that can allow for that to come through. And not that Hashem changes according to that place, whereas, and that's similar to a seichel going through the etzubois hayad, going through the fingers, which it's not, the seichel is not tailored according to the fingers, and the fingers are not kelim for the seichel, but they just allow for the seichel to travel through them when a person writes down an idea, versus the opinion of the Ramban, that the Ramban, and that is also the way Chassidus and Kabbalah approaches it, that the Elikus is actually mislabish in the Beis Hamikdash. It's enclosed in the Beis Hamikdash, just like the intellect is enclosed in the brain. Now the Rebbe is going to explain what is this idea of the advantage and the quality of speaking about the hislapshus, and what's the advantage of saying that it's b'derech maivir. So we're holding on the second paragraph on Chav Gimel 19, line 7, by the brackets. Lahoyer, and the Rebbe says to note, shebachlal hamayl shebislapshus minigel l'tachten. In general, the advantage of enclothing is concerning that's down below. The level that's on the receiving end gets more out of something when it's mislabish in it. But we're talking about the quality of that which is coming down itself. The hamshacha, that's in the way that's passing through, is higher than the hamshacha that comes down in a way that's enclosed. The hamshacha mislabeshes betachton, he misamsemes umishtanes kefi hakli shalotacht. When the hamshacha becomes enclosed in a lower level, so then that means that it has to constrict itself and it has to change itself according to the vessel of the one down below. Masha enking shibederach maiver, as opposed to when it's in a way of passing through. Eina misamsemes kol kach, it doesn't become so constricted, because that's the whole idea of passing through. Okay, moving kam sholem, this karm le'el, it's also understood from the metaphors that we brought earlier. When we talk about the advantage that the intellect becomes enclosed in the brain, that's concerning the advantage over here is from the brain's perspective. The brain comprehends and grasps the idea. But concerning the idea, concerning the intellect, through the intellect becoming enclosed in a physical brain, so that causes a constriction in the intellect so it can be able to come into the physical brain. It becomes more coarsened, it becomes more connected with the physical world so that it can go from a spiritual level of intellect to become enclosed in a physical brain. On the other hand, as opposed to that, when writing down an idea through the fingers of the hand, it's not that you had to somehow decrease and constrict the intellect and so on to be able to go through the fingers. It has nothing to do with the fingers. The fingers are just totally a vehicle for the seichel to travel through to the paper. Okay, like explained the Mamorim that speak about this topic of the way a lakus can come down the way that's passing through versus the way a lakus comes down the way that's enclosed. When the hamshacha comes down in a way that's enclosed, so then the whatever comes about, the outcome of it, relates to the garment that it was enclosed in, the vessel that it came into. As opposed to if it's just in the coming through in a way of passing through, it doesn't relate and it's not associated with the thing that it's going through. You're not going to say that a person has good fingers or smart fingers because he is able to write down ideas. He has nothing to do with the world of fingers. But you're going to say, oh, the person has a good brain, even though you're talking about the physical brain, when it's able to receive and take in and understand deep ideas. And he's going to give examples from ruchnistic things. Is explained over there in that mimer. The difference between Eretz Yisrael and Chutz La'aretz concerning the Hamshacha Lakis that comes down. Shebechutz La'aretz, outside of Eretz Yisrael, Hamshachas Hashefam Malchus Datzilus, K'moishim Lubeshes, B'malchus Debriya V'yitzidam, Ya'idei Shimislabeshes B'malchus Dasir. How does Chutz La'aretz receive its hashpah from Malchus Datzilus? And it's not just Malchus Datzilus itself, but it's Malchus Datzilus the way it's enclosed in Malchus of Bria, Malchus of Yitzira. The only way it can receive it is only when those levels are enclosed, b'derech hislapshus in Malchus Dasir. Therefore, because it's only the way it's mislabish in Malchus Dasir, v'lechein shayech hashefa l'Malchus Dasir. We relate the hashpah to Malchus of Asir. We don't say it's Malchus Datzilus or even Malchus Yitzira. We say it's Malchus Dasir because it's in a way of Islapshus. So it relates to the levush, like we said before. It relates to the level that it's actually enclosed in. On the other hand, of Eretz Yisrael, Hamshachas Hashefa Mimalchus Datzilus, Hamlubeshes B'Malchus Debriya V'Yitzira. Aidei Malchus Dasir rak b'derech ma'ivir. In Eretz Yisrael, the Malchus of Atzilus that's enclosed in Malchus of Bria Yitzira, the way it comes down into Eretz Yisrael through Malchus Dasir is only in the way of passing through. V'lechein shayech hashefa l'Malchus Yitzira. Therefore, the hashpah is associated and relates to Malchus Yitzira. We say that in Eretz Yisrael, the hashpah comes from Malchus Yitzira. Nothing can come directly in this world from Malchus Yitzira. It has to go through Malchus Dasir. Just like no idea can meet a piece of paper unless it goes through the fingers of the hand that's writing it. Yet we don't attribute the idea to the hand. We don't attribute the idea to the fingers. We attribute the person's idea to his mind, to his brain, etc. The same thing, even though in Eretz Yisrael the hashpah that's coming from Malchus Yitzira is going through Malchus Yitzira, the Asiyah, but it's not going in a way of Islapshus. It's only b'derech ma'ivir. So when we talk about what is the hashpah in Eretz Yisrael, we say it's Malchus Yitzira. The Rebbe in the footnote also brings down something that in the previous page, something that's more familiar from Tanya, that he says a similar idea in the difference between Shabbos and Yom Tov to weekdays. That again, it's a similar type of idea that obviously it has to go through all the levels. But the question is it going through in a way of Islapshus, or is it going in a way of B'derech Ma'ivir? And then it doesn't relate to that level that it's passing through. It's not associated with that level. Okay. After all of that, what does it mean, Islapshus, by the Beis HaMikdash? We said there's a Maila in Islapshus, and there's a Maila of Ma'ivir. The Maila of Islapshus is that it totally comes in, but there's a flip side to that. Then it means it becomes constricted. So the Rebbe says like this: when the Ramban and Chassidus take the view that the Likus comes down into the Beis HaMikdash in the way of Islapshus, it is only to tell us that the Likus that comes down into the Beis HaMikdash has all the advantages of Islapshus, that it is completely immersed and enjoined with that level. But it's not Chas v'Sholem trying to say that the Eibishter is constricted in any way. Let's see the third line on page Chav Daled. But the fact that the resting and residing of the Shekhinah in the Beis HaMikdash was in a manner of becoming enclosed, the intention is only to the advantage of being enclosed. The revelation that's shown in the Beis HaMikdash, gam la'achri hislapshus Beis HaMikdash, even after it became enclosed in the Beis HaMikdash that was in a physical place, it doesn't mean that now Hashem became limited or constricted, or that level of godliness became constricted to the physical, but rather it retained and remained it still was beyond the category of place. So therefore, why do we call it Islapshus? If it's beyond the whole idea of place, the Inyan Islapshus is the idea that it's enclosed, is Shagil, Shalom Beis HaMikdash Agashmi, its revelation, the physical Beis HaMikdash, Hoye Bepnimius was in such a way that it was internalized. Whereas if we would follow the view of the Rambam and the other Rishonim, so then it's not internalized, just like an idea that passes through the fingers. It has nothing to do with the fingers. It's only passing through. So we're only talking about the Maila of Islapshus, the advantage and quality, because it became internalized in that place, but not Chas v'Sholem that it became limited. So the Rebbe adds all the Hoysiv to add to this, the fact that the resting of the Shekhinah in the Beis HaMikdash was in a way that was enclosed, this itself is an indication on the great quality of the revelation that's shown in the Beis HaMikdash. The fact that the revelation that came down also, or even in a physical place, and in such a manner that it was enclosed over there, not just passing through in the way of Ma'ivir, because the revelation that shown in the Beis HaMikdash was an unbounded, unlimited revelation. Therefore, it could be in a pneumistic way in the Beis HaMikdash and yet not be constricted according to the physicalities of the place and the constriction that Islapshus usually demands. So now we're going to bring this back to the question of only Shem Havai is the Midas Amitis Shali. Line 16, after the Maimer that the Rebbe is quoting from. explains at length the idea of the resting of the Shekhinah and the Beis HaMikdash, going into these two ideas of Maiver and Islapshus, the Machlokes of the Rambam and the Ramban. Mamshech ba Maimer, the Maimer continues, the Pirush Midas Emes, the meaning of what it means that Hashem told Moshe Rabbeinu, I did not become known by my midah of truth. What does it mean, my midah of truth? Uki'inyan v'tikun v'emes. It's that like the tikkun of the emes, of the Yud Gimel Tikkun Dikna, the 13 parts of the beard, which has to do with the 13 attributes of mercy, Hashem, Kel Rachem, V'chan, etc. So the emes is one of those Yud Gimel Tikkunim, Yud Gimel Midos, Haponui Mesiris, that goes on the level of the beard, meaning the facial area, that does not actually have hairs over there. What does that indicate? The idea that it's free of hairs is beligvul. The whole idea of hairs indicates the idea that it is constricted, that there is a very minor type of amshacha that comes out, like the hair has a very, very minuscule amount of life force in it. When you say it's the emes is removed from hairs, that shows that it's a level beligvul. Top of the next page, Davke Shem Havai. That's why the Davke, the name Yudke Vavke, is the mid of Hashem's truth. The name Shindal Yud, that's in the creation of the world, because I told the world enough. That's the level that shines within the boundaries. In other words, it's constricted already. It's not true believable. V'gam shem shindal yud shenizgala la'avos al dei shem shadai belakusi b'chol beryu shemer b'gvul. Even the name Shindal Yud that was revealed to the forefathers, because it's sufficient in my godliness to every creation, is something that also shines in the state of boundaries, limitations. Because the miracles that come from this name, like we spoke about before, are enclosed in nature. Therefore, specifically the name Yud Kei Vav Kei is the mid of Hashem's truth, the mid of the emes of the Yud Gimel Sarachmim that has no hairs, because without any boundaries. The Maimer continues, Shagam Kol Hashem is emes. And truth is, all names are truth, like we explained earlier in the Maimer, we mentioned it. El Shavayu emes lamita, but Avai is the truth of the truth. So now the Rebbe is going to explain more of the connection, what we were talking about, the Shekhinah being in the Beis HaMikdash, and this topic of the emes of Avai. Oistes, bir hashayks de shtei ades ba'ofen hashras hashchina Beis HaMikdash. La bir shadavke shem Avai midas hamid is the connection between the two opinions about how the Shekhinah reside in the Beis HaMikdash. To the explanation that specifically the name Yud Kei Vav Kei is the mid of truth. Yesh loimer, the Rebbe says we could say the nekudas hachiluk de shtei ades hi inyan haislapshus. The point of the difference of the two opinions is the concept of becoming enclothed. The slapshus b'chlal hiyirida, becoming enclothed in general, not in the Beis HaMikdash. In general, the idea of enclothing is a descent. That the one that becomes enclothed is becoming constricted and changed according to the manner of the garment, like we said before in Ois Ches. That's why, because the Rambam chooses not to make Hashem susceptible to constriction and limitation. That's why the Rambam's opinion is the way the Shekhinah resided in the Beis HaMikdash wasn't a way of passing through. Because it's not possible to say by godliness that was constricted and changed to be within the category of a physical place. But that's a Rambam as opposed to the opinion of the Ramban. This is also the ruling of Teres Chassidus. The fact that the Shekhinah rested in the Beis HaMikdash in the way that it became enclothed, we said it was not a descent. It wasn't that he constricted himself. Just the opposite. It shows on how high the light is. Through the light coming down and becoming enclosed in a physical place. Through this was revealed that the light is without a boundary, like it was mentioned before in Ois Ches. Shlomo could say, what the reason why he also brings the opinion of the Rambam, let him just bring the opinion of the Ramban, the ultimate bligvul, the highest level, and that's it. That's all that matters. And he even adds that there's others that hold that way, that Absadia going, that Adak, and others who give be slapshus or Beis Hamikdash because he wanted to communicate that in the clothing in the Beis Hamikdash there's both aspects. The Bechitzonius externally, Haislapshus, Gamma Slapshus, the Beis Hamikdash, he did the Vitzimtzum, Haisoidishit Saramba. Even the clothing in the Beis Hamikdash was a descent, and the constriction, which is the foundation and the basis of the opinion of the Rambam, top of page Chavav. Ubepnimius, but internally, the internal level that became enclosed, he slapshus Beis Hamikdash ugili amitis abilti balgvul. It's the revelation of the true level of the infinite. Should be cholti lislabish gambe magashmi, that can be clothed even in a physical place without becoming constricted by that place. Hayisoid the shittas Haramban, the foundation of the opinion of the Rambam. So that's why the Maimah brings both, because both were true. Well, and to note the Inyan Zed, this idea, that this enclothing is the true idea, the true revelation of the infinite. This was specifically explained in the teaching of Chassidus, because the inner part of the Torah reveals the inner matter that's in everything. And because it reveals the inner matter of everything, it reveals this inner level the way it comes out according to the Ramban that comes into the Beis Hamikdash. Line 8, according to this, we could say, the Matayim maybe that amongst the reasons why it brings both opinions in the manner how the Shekhinah resides in the Beis Hamikdash. Is to hint, it's also concerning how miracles are enclosed in nature. There are two aspects how miracles are enclosed in nature. Who the external matter of the miracles enclosed in nature is the the root of the miracles that are enclosed in nature is from the light that has an association with the world. From the perspective of this revelation, there cannot be a change and nullifying the nature. That's why it's enclosed in nature, because he doesn't want to go against the natural laws. Similar like in Purim, there was no natural laws broken. That you cannot break the natural laws. He put them into place not to be broken. That is the external way of looking at miracles that are enclosed in nature. Similar to the external way of looking at becoming enclosed in the place of Beis Hamikdash is a constriction, is a limitation. The inner idea behind the miracles becoming enclosed in nature is through the enclothing of the miracles in nature becomes revealed the true idea of the infinite. The fact that the infinite light of Hashem, that has no boundaries, that's beyond enclothing, rules over nature. Nature itself is now manipulated according to his will. Yet, that itself can only be miracles beyond nature inform us about the nature of the miracles in nature. After we see miracles beyond nature, so we know that Hashem will choose to break the rules of nature. Moving, it's understood, it's that the enclothing of miracles in nature is it's not because they don't have the capability to destroy nature. But just the opposite. The reason why the miracles are enclosed in nature is to inform us and to reveal to us the ruling of the infinite light of Hashem over nature is even within nature itself, following the rules of nature itself.